just
your point is so legitimate.
Well, I know it's like a bad point, but I'm just like, it makes no sense to me. This is something that is advantageous for your team, and you say it's player safety, but then when you look at what the data backs up, it doesn't back up your claim.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus Podcast, presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
40,000.
Woo!
We're approaching. That's the next goal.
Appreciate
That's it.
Yes, so we are closing in on
goal-oriented.
that. We're going to talk about the NFL owner meetings, what's gone down, some James Cook stuff, some contract stuff, a little draft prep as well, talking corners. But I feel like we have to start with the news of the day as we record this on Monday, and that is the Tush Push and all of the, can we call it drama?
Yeah, we have to talk about the drama of pushing tushes. Yep. I did that as a tease the one time before a 6 o'clock show. Big laughs. Tough to get through.
Yeah, but news people do like to laugh.
Yeah.
No one fake laughs more than news people.
Oh, yeah, for the record, though, that was not a fake laugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The pushing of tushes.
All right. Do you want to get started?
No, I want you to go first.
Okay.
Because I've got hot takes on it.
Yeah.
Mike has hot takes on it. So you've been sitting here saying.
I've literally said.
No, go ahead.
I thought you were going to interrupt.
I was just going to say, explain the main reason we're talking about is because the center of the whole freaking thing is Sean McDermott.
Yeah. So it was originally the Packers' proposal to ban the Tush Push. Now, Sean McDermott is on the NFL's competition committee, and he talked about how he is in favor of banning the Tush Push. Now, Sean McDermott has said it revolves around player safety. The pushback is that there's no data to support that it is about the health and safety of the players. So down today at the owners' meetings in Florida, a lot of reporters were asking about McDermott. Hey, why do you feel this way? McDermott talked about how, well, he said this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel, I think similar to how I felt at the Combine. I've done, I've dove deeper into more of the data on it and, just thought more about it as well. And my position hasn't really changed at all. I feel where I'm most concerned is, even though there's not significant data out there to this point, my biggest concern is the health and safety of the players. First and foremost. So there's different forms of it out there. I know we are one of the teams that people identify that run it. That's fair. There's other teams as well. So I just look, we're gonna always act in a way that's best for the health and safety of the players, and I think that's the responsible way to go.
So you could see why people were confused and it got a bit contentious at moments was because what Sean McDermott is saying and what the data backs things up, they are not the same. So I guess we'll start with me. And I know Mike and Dan have hot takes or takes around this. I guess for me, or maybe not hot takes, but I don't know what to say. Like, I don't have an opinion on this, but I'm so confused. And maybe this is because I am naive, but the fact that Sean McDermott is saying one thing and the evidence so clearly does not support that. I don't think it's strictly that the Eagles are really, really good at it, because that's like a piece of the game. You have to be the best and win. So that to me doesn't make sense. And I guess I'm just kind of sitting here like, why does McDermott say it's health and safety when obviously the data does not support that? And so that's why in my mind, I don't understand.
You don't understand why his stance?
Why his stance is that because the Bills are the team that runs it second most behind the Eagles.
Yep.
And the fact that he wants to ban the play, but also has been one of the teams that runs the play the most. That is where I don't understand the logic. But we know Sean McDermott is usually a guy that's dictated by logic. So that's where the disconnect is in my mind.
Yeah, well, the first
I'm sweating.
crux of my position is the fact of Sean has made several points at times in his answers today, which the NFL owners meeting is bananas in the sense of the way that it is set up, where it is just a round table of people walking around asking questions from every
literal round table,
every different direction that Sean's answering questions from reporters from all across the league. he was very clear, Mike, that they run a form of it, a version of the tush push, that they don't run it like the Eagles, which to me is, I remember when the official rule proposal was submitted, and I think over the last 3 years, the Eagles had run it 108 times. The Bills were second at 150 or at 55 times. That is more than half of the league is those two teams that run it. So my first thought was, are you kind of biting off your nose despite your face? Like, this is a play that you have in your tool belt because you have a 6'5" unicorn as a quarterback. And then Sean's constantly talking about the variation in the way that they run it. But then he's also clear to say that quarterback sneaks have been around forever. Where I do get confused is in what it does at times feel like, and that's, I understand when other teams are doing it, or I can make the point of you're just butthurt because another team is better at this, which is stupid, because if that's the case, we should outlaw no look
Mahomes.
Yeah, no look throws because of the safety, because linebackers and cornerbacks aren't looking where the ball is. Like, so I have problems with that, to go along with Sean, who said that he had looked more into the data, even though there's not a lot of data there to support the injury. And then, is the injury more concerned about the quarterback? Is it more about the lineman? Is it the posture at which the force is? Those kind of things confuse me. I don't think the play should be banned. I don't think that this has reached some epidemic level proportion of injuries. And it always sounds good when you say players' health and safety, but you don't apply that really where it matters. And so that's where I'm confused as to the outcry for banning this play when there isn't really kickoffs. There were concussions. There were guys being paralyzed because of wedges. Concrete data that you went, this is an unsafe play, we have to get rid of it. Totally makes sense. I haven't seen any of that data, and that's where, to me, I don't understand the logic behind banning this play.
And I also feel like, I don't think Sean McDermott would be like, the Eagles are too good at it, we have to remove it, and that's why. Do you agree with that?
Yes. And there was also a report that on Sunday at the owners' meeting, there was an animated conversation between Howie Roseman, an Eagles assistant GM, that this was something, and what did they call it? What was the report? There was
an animated conversation.
Yeah. Sean said it was not animated. It's just football guys talking. They're just passionate Italians, kind of thing.
Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
Known Italian.
Yeah. So I don't know. And Mike, I want you to take the floor, and then I do have my sarcasm and hot takes to come back with.
Take Mike's one shot. That is a man who's been patient. Go ahead.
Maybe it's taken more patience than any time in the history of Buffalo Plus, but I wanted you guys to get your points out. I agree with a lot of what you've said.
You also, we did start the podcast. You interrupted Jenna before she even spoke. It was just, we can replay the video.
Yes, but the only reason I interrupted her was because I wanted people to know the point was, it's Sean McDermott, which is a big part of what I'm saying 100%. About it. He is the focus. You talked about the NFL owners meetings at a round table, because for most years, it was a couple of writers around the coaches. It was very informal. And like everything else, the NFL is 24/7, 365. So people show up. So they haven't caught up yet with the way to handle media down there. They try to make it relaxed. It's not relaxed. But Sean was by far the biggest story today.
Yep.
All right. I will start with this. The health and safety part, I think, is absurd.
100%.
Now, of all the people that all of you guys know, no one has seen more of these plays probably than me. Because I watch the Bills, every snap of every Bills game, and then eventually I watch every snap of an Eagles game. That's just the way it is. I've never seen a guy get hurt in it. The comical thing to me was, if everybody remembers in the NFC Championship game, when I believe the Eagles put up 55 on Washington, there was a play down near the goal line where the linebacker for Washington kept trying to jump over the line. And the comical thing to me was people saying that was the point when people started talking about the safety and the injury to players. Are we kidding ourselves here? It wasn't the play. It was the absurd reaction of the Washington defender, which eventually led to them saying, if you do that again, we're going to just give them the touchdown.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott talks about the injury part. Here's I'll make a football comparison. Quarterbacks get protected.
They do.
Right? The league knows you need the quarterbacks to be healthy. So why don't we eliminate quarterback runs?
100%.
Because there is data that says when a quarterback runs, he can get hurt. Well, hold on a second. Not everybody runs like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or any of those players. No, is that the right? Oh my God, I'm Dan. I cede my time to the gentleman from Webster, New York. Go ahead. You want to say something?
No, because that was one of my sarcastic comments that I made, because there was a great reporter out there, and I just want to give the credit to the tweet. Let me find it real quick. It was up and then I lost it. Brittany Baby said, if she works for the Miami Dolphins, if we're banning things that some teams are good at and others aren't, I'd like to add some things to this ban list. Football in cold weather, winning playoff games, interceptions, being able to convert on short downs, having a good backup quarterback, having a good O-line. Like your point about like quarterback shouldn't be able to run. Derrick Henry shouldn't be allowed to run.
Well,
because people get injured trying to.
But
absurdity.
But no, the reason my comparison is different is because there are rules in place to specifically protect the quarterbacks. So that's already there. The way you hit them, the way you tackle them, that doesn't apply to Derrick Henry, it applies to quarterbacks. So if you said we're not allowing quarterbacks to run, or it's two-hand touch when they get out of the pocket, you might say, well, wait a minute. Josh Allen runs through tackles, runs over people. It's a disadvantage to the Bills. That is a place where health and safety come into play. And I just have not seen it on this play. Make any other argument you want. You don't like the way the play looks or whatever. I will tell you this. The most embarrassing thing said this whole time is by the soft franchise in, of all places, the home of Vince Lombardi, Green Bay, where Mark Murphy, the team president, I think he still is, said the play uses no skill, and it's basically, what was the word he used for it? That it's automatic. Well, we know it's not automatic. And listen, the Eagles are in this frame of time in their history where they have the best offensive line.
Yep.
They have a quarterback who can squat 600 pounds. They have the best offensive line coach. That's why it works. When guys are out, or Kenny Pickett was in there, it didn't work as well. It's a different play. They're just really good at it. And Nick Sirianni really pushed back before when he was like, I'm pissed off that people think we don't practice this play. He's right. And for the Bills of all teams to be the ones who want to ban it, I think is absurd.
That's why I don't get it, though. Why?
And
why do they want to ban it?
Here was my biggest point with the Bills. It's everything in this league is about competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to name teams. You tell me if they run this play. Kansas City Chiefs.
No.
Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
No, they do not run the push with him.
They run it with Andrews.
It's different, and they run it once in a blue moon. I'm talking about the quarterback play.
He doesn't like my answer. But
no, because they probably ran it 8 times all year. The Eagles run it consistently. It's not in Lamar's hands. Cincinnati Bengals.
No.
Miami Dolphins.
No.
Right? Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
Yeah. You have a competitive advantage over all these teams. What does Mina Kimes say about the Bills quarterback? He's literally a buffalo.
Yes.
That was her line, right?
Yeah.
And Josh has never gotten hurt on that play.
Nope.
He's gotten hurt more when he tries to hurdle somebody. It makes zero sense. I don't believe the injury part. And by the way, it's funny that Troy Vincent is the guy from the NFL.
Yeah.
Who played for Sean McDermott in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And was a member of the Buffalo Bills. So he's got history with both franchises in this case. I'm stunned. I was stunned at the combine when Sean said it. And I'm stunned now that he's digging in on it about the injury part. And I think it's a competitive advantage for the Bills. Absolutely.
That's why
against these other teams.
It's like biting off your nose to spite your face. But there's also not the data that backs it up.
The injury part.
The injury part. So I looked at it too and I said, we're always worried about the health and safety of our players and things like that. Then the competition committee should look at artificial turf. We've gone on and on and on about this. there is a direct correlation and stats and data that back up there are more injuries to your ACLs, Achilles, and all of those kind of things when you're on artificial turf compared to natural grass. It's cut and dry, black and white. There is no data right now that shows that the tush push play is more dangerous than a quarterback scrambling out of the pocket that could get hit. I do not understand that logic behind it, and they throw the veil of players' health and safety.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And if you want to outlaw the play, like I said, the soft Green Bay Packers, you can put them on the list, Mike. I love that. I can understand if we don't like it because we can't stop it and we don't run it. Fine. There are tons of rules that get proposed because we're not good at it, so we want to change the game.
I think I
understand that.
The NBA should limit 3-pointers because the Celtics are too good at it.
And Steph Curry, he should only be allowed to shoot 5
a game.
Yep.
Max.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I was so confused around it, because I was just
Your point is so legitimate.
Well, I know it's like a bad point, but
no.
I'm just like, it makes no sense to me. This is something that is advantageous for your team, and you say it's player safety, but then when you look at what the data backs up, it doesn't back up your claim. That's why I'm like, what is the missing piece? Because I genuinely don't think Sean McDermott is like, the Eagles are too good at this. We need to take this out of the game plan.
No, and you said it in like 45 seconds, and I said it in 6 minutes or whatever I went off on. I'm just stunned it comes from Sean. Listen, I do believe that man takes his role in that competition committee seriously. I just think they said, well, let's look at the data. And then the data comes back like no injuries on the play.
And that's the thing. Sean said he's looked into the data while also admitting there's not much data out there. So, and again, I'm with you, Jenna, because Sean is a very methodical, systematic. He does look at the numbers, the data to decide players, their snap counts. They look at all the analytics.
He's logic based.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this is illogical.
And by the way, him saying they run a different version of it, I guess you would do it differently. That's why I say when the Eagles run it, it's different with Kenny Pickett or whoever their backup was than it is with Jalen Hurts because of his. Josh Allen is taller, bigger, stronger. And of course, it ends up being obviously a key play in that Chiefs game. And by the way, in the Chiefs game, they ran it. He was getting pushed from behind, and they still didn't get they weren't credited with the first down.
Yeah.
Good catch.
So while it may be slightly different, it isn't like the competition committee is saying we need to make adjustments on this play, whatever that is, right? Whatever they say it is. And they changed the rule about pushing a player from behind to offense probably 8 or 10 years ago to allow it. So that has been in play for a while. And by the way, the Bills do that too. I mean, we've seen Dion like grab guys and throw them forward.
Yep.
Not part of a tush push play, just a regular
and
play.
Nobody's gotten hurt, and we all applaud the effort.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I do understand that the Eagles, it is much more between the center and guard. Josh goes more guard and tackle. That has kind of been for whatever reason. And that's probably partly because of Connor McGovern, they've talked about it before, the way that he snaps, what's comfortable for him. That was another thing about the Eagles is you lost Kelsey. Would you still be able to do it? Yeah, it's the technique. And so again, if there will be a small tweak to the rule, the lining up of the formation, the stance, the posture, all of those things. But again, the big thing that the NFL has tried to eliminate for the safety of players is the head contact, the open field, guy getting
collisions,
clotheslined and his head taken off in the middle of the field. But this is this rugby play where you're very close to one another. You're not, I mean, how many times do we see it? Even if Terrell Bernard or Matt Milano makes a play, you're like, that's a car accident on the football field. Two guys running full speed. These guys are inches apart and pushing each other. And one side's better at it than the other because the other knows the snap count. Like there's so many other things. And when I think about the tush push and the way the Eagles are doing it, I never think and watch it going, hope somebody doesn't get injured here.
Yeah.
But there's balls that are thrown over the middle where I'm like, that's a hospital pass.
Yeah.
Like somebody's going to get carted off the field.
I'd be curious to talk to the players just to hear their point of view because I just, it just doesn't, the math ain't mathin'. And maybe it is like you're just, but even that, again, there's not the data to support that there's like actual.
Yeah, every play there's. I
I
mean,
never thought I'd say data so much. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
but it is every play there is. And look, it's.
Well,
I
it's
still
tough to
think
talk
it's
about data when that's your argument and there's none to support it. That's what's tough for me to comprehend. And again, I'm not sitting here saying like Sean McDermott is at fault or anything like that. It just, like Jenna said, very logical, very analytical, smart thinking head coach is just not applying that, in my opinion, to what this is.
And to go back to it, number one, by the time you're watching this, they're voting on it on Tuesday. So you may already know, like we don't know at the moment. I don't think it's going to be banned. It was funny that Sirianni mentioned
that was best.
3 of his former coaches who got head coaching jobs in part because of the play, which had obviously helped the team.
Yeah.
I mean,
Steichen, Gannon, and Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore.
He goes,
Yeah.
they all better vote against it because that's how they got their jobs.
Yeah, so they only need
an awesome
what?
flex.
What do they need? 9?
9, yeah.
Including the
it
Eagles.
Needs 24
And some other
to
ones,
pass.
hey, Washington's going to have to deal with it. He said, I'm not against the play.
Aaron Glenn, yeah.
And so did Houston coach.
D'Amico.
Yeah, he's like, just because somebody's good, to Jenna's point, just because they're good at it, or you said it, they're good at it, doesn't mean you ban the play. I don't know if it'll get banned, but at the same time, the point was about the health and safety. I keep going back to the competitive advantage for the Bills. These other teams do not do it, and the Bills do. Even if they do it in a way that they believe maybe is less stressful on Josh, I don't know, or the offensive line. It worked a lot.
Yep.
Until it needed to be, but it worked a lot. Why would you want that out of the game? Kansas City's sitting there going, take that play out, man. We don't have to worry about Buffalo running that on us because they don't even run quarterback sneaks.
Correct. It's not going to eliminate the fact that a quarterback can't take a snap and go forward. Like, so I'm wondering where is, and I guess maybe that, if to play devil's advocate, whether it's the posture of the offensive line, the response posture, because somebody asked like, well, Sean, is it the offensive line's posture or the defensive line's posture? And he goes, well, if one lines up one way, you're going to react to it with the best way that you see fit. So, and again, Chris Jones was lining up sideways in the Super Bowl. That didn't work. Like, again, I don't know.
They didn't run it very often in the Super Bowl.
Didn't have to.
Yeah. But
did not have to.
So you may know this. It'll be probably late tomorrow after when we're recording this on Monday,
but
Tuesday afternoon. Yeah.
Vote or not, you can listen to this if you're listening to it on Wednesday. Our points, whether it's approved or not, still stand. Of there's no data that shows it is a dangerous play to the level and extent of injuries to be concerned about the health and safety of players.
Now, Jenna, I want to ask you this. Doesn't get barred. You're allowed to run it next year.
Yes.
Do the Bills run
yes.
it?
Yes.
I literally knew. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You run it because it works.
Yes.
They have the guy it should work every time.
Yeah.
Or close to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. That's true. Okay. Anything else on this topic?
No,
the owners' meetings just seems weird. Like they're all set up. It was just very chaotic.
You know what though? That's like how it was at the Super Bowl. Remember?
They used to put them at. Well, they still do put some players at tables.
Players at podiums, and the other guys are just like at a table where you're like they just have to sit there and wait and see who comes up to them.
If anybody does. Yeah.
Sean McDermott wearing the flat brim too.
Yeah, I know.
And Jordan's in the picture.
I know.
Who is this guy?
Up in his
Wild
swag.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay. The other news of kind of the NFL owners meeting so far has been Brandon Beane's comments on James Cook. Brandon was asked about the possibility of an extension with James Cook. Obviously, we can get into a little bit. Christian Benford just getting signed over the weekend. We have that soundbite, right?
Yep.
Okay. Here is what Brandon Beane had to say.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, Andy, I love Jimbo. Proud of his success, just like these other guys that we got extended. And I don't talk about negotiations. I would say, his reps and him put it out there that we did talk. So I'm not sharing anything new. It didn't lead to anything as far as, closing in on a deal. And so we moved on to the guys that, we were more on the same page with. And, at this point, Sal, we're on to the draft. Once we got Benford done, and I don't see us doing any deals anytime soon. We're going to focus on the draft and getting our cap in order, planning for how we cut the 53 down. Because like I've told you guys, even though we have cap space today, it's on top 51. And so depending on how many players we draft, where they, who we see having the best chance to unseat players and what that looks like at a 53 cut, we got to plan for that as well. So, but again, just because we don't have James signed today doesn't mean next year we still can't get him done before he gets to free agency.
I would say that was pretty candid.
I loved it. And I said to you guys, I don't think it's about the social media. It's about the numbers. When he sat there with and listen, James Cook can ask for whatever he wants to ask for.
Yep.
I've seen some people hinting at sitting out in camp and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to impact the Bills. You can do that. He's got a year left on his contract. I'm sure they put a number out there, or at least the parameters of numbers that they would be willing to go with. Obviously, these other guys have accepted those deals. James Cook has every right to say no, but it doesn't seem like it was close for him to say, yeah, okay, so we'll let it sit there. We're going into the draft. There's a lot of running backs in the draft, too.
That was, as Jenna, you said, candid. I would almost say stern as I've ever seen Beane publicly be about a player. About even when it was Poyer, it was like, we'd love to have him back, possibly. And Beane did say that at the end of that doesn't mean we can't get something done before the end of next year.
Loves
Jimbo. They always start with that. Love the guy. But to
Can you imagine if they were ever like, you know what? I'm just not a fan.
You know what? Oh, you want to talk about
he's
Jimbo?
Actually really an ass.
Yeah. He's a jerk. No, I was kidding. But I did find that to be a very black and white comment of just, hey, we're not going to get anything done right now.
Yeah.
We're focused on the draft. We'll look to get something done before next season when he hits free agency. Like, it doesn't sound like we're going to be talking in week 6 about doing this.
And that doesn't mean that can't happen, but
Correct.
I just think the Bills still have all of the leverage, Mike.
Yes. And their history has been to not sign those running backs.
Yeah.
End of April, and that draft in Green Bay will be very telling. We always talk about it. Money talks. They may say something. I thought
money and decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I thought it was last year. We were like, hey, they could draft a right tackle. Like, hey, what do you think about Spencer Brown? Oh, we love him. It was a back injury, all these things. And I was like, if they draft a right tackle, that's what they really think about Spencer Brown. They didn't. And Spencer Brown played well. They were right. And all of those things. They draft a running back in the 3rd round. That'll be very telling to me.
Yeah, because they don't have a 3rd round pick. Sorry. Sorry.
That
they can make a
that
trade.
was very good, Michael.
If you think I know what rounds they have picks in,
But they
you're
do have
silly.
the 2 in the
They do,
second, and there
yeah.
are a lot of backs. And listen, I do believe they really like James Cook. And I will say this. I don't know if you guys agree. He is the
dunked
best
on by a 60-year-old.
He is the best of those running backs that they've had.
Oh, yeah.
Singletary, Moss, Cook, Davis. He's drafted 4 running backs since 2018.
He's made more explosive plays, bigger plays. The touchdown in the championship game was spectacular.
Phenomenal, yeah.
He is that guy. But we've also talked about he's still a 40-some% snap count guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
Dan mentioned it, the Ty Johnson. You signed Ty Johnson.
Yep.
So they want him out on the field for those plays. It's not like Ty Johnson. And listen, I like Ray Davis too. We don't know if Ray Davis can handle the 40% of the snaps and being that guy, but they're going to put out a number. They'll probably adjust. There'll be that point where, right? You say your number. Beane has a number in March to April of 2025 that he would pay him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean at another point, as it gets to another time of the year, that they wouldn't go up. If they say, hey, we go to here, do we have a deal? They probably would go up because I do think they like the player. But you're right. At that position, they're not going to be held hostage.
That's the thing. It's the position. Somebody was asking me like, oh, are you surprised? I'm like, honestly, not really, because of the position and what was, put out there by James Cook about the number. And you see also the Bills, the deals that they have done this offseason have been incredibly team friendly. I know we're going to touch on Christian Benford in a moment, but like when you look at what other guys are doing because they want to be in Buffalo, they want to stay with the Bills. Mind you, they're getting paid, but also at the same point, it's not the numbers that we expected or projected. And then to have someone else at that position saying, I want top dollar. I want to be paid as a top 3 back. Look, James Cook, great season last year, 16 touchdowns. Do you think he can do that again? That's the biggest question. And then what will he want to do after that? What will the payment be like? And it just feels like there is quite a large gap in between where both sides are.
And history usually says, and I know I talk about this every time guys come up or they're approaching their final year, usually Beane gets it done and they usually don't play that final year unless they're coming back. Like the example was always Tremaine Edmonds. And it was like, well, we'll try and get something done. They didn't get something done. And to me, that was like writing on the wall. They didn't get something done with Poyer. It was a 1-year deal. And I just feel like a lot of times if Beane wants to get it done, it gets done before they enter that final year. Usually it doesn't linger into the season. Usually they don't sign a guy or extend a guy in the middle of the year when he's on his last year of his contract. So that's just something to think about, the track record of Beane.
If he wanted to, he would.
Your favorite.
And the other part about that is James Cook, obviously, there's a number that he would like, and I think he thinks he can get that from another team. The guys who get that money, where we're not talking about a good deal for a player who has had very good to very good. I mean, we're talking about 1,000 yards. He got it in the last game. It's 1,000 yards. It's not 1,500, 2,000. He doesn't get that. So what's his value on the open market?
I mean, I think he can. Some team would some
I
team
agree.
would pay.
I agree,
Absolutely.
because
The
there's
only
another
guys
team
who've gotten overpaid are the guys who are giving you overpaid. I mean, Saquon got 13 to leave the Giants, and people were like, whoa, 13 for a running back. But he's Saquon Barkley, just like Derrick Henry, just like Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
These guys are, it's like we all love Khalil Shakir. But then there's Jamar Chase. Like, we're not talking about the same position here. Doesn't mean guys can't put up other numbers. So that part will be sitting out there for him. And, you know, it's running backs now going into their 5th, 6th, and 7th years.
And I was just looking at the franchise tags. Like if they wanted to after next year, if that were to be the case, the projected franchise tags in 2026 would be 14.2. So
they'd let him walk.
I agree. And I also think, like, I don't have any issues with James wanting the money that he wants.
Oh, yeah.
And betting on himself, and also maybe seeing the running back market change. And if the pendulum does swing back and some team does want to invest, like, I'm all for that. Like, I'm not sitting here going, James Cook is crazy.
No.
Maybe you at home and who have already liked, commented, and subscribed, like, what are your thoughts on, do you want a deal to get done? It doesn't seem like it's going to happen before training camp. I'd be surprised now if that happens. But
yeah, because at this point, the Bills it's not a line in the sand. They've given their number.
Yep.
Now, unless James Cook wants to lower his, the closer it gets to the season and into the season, sort of the more pressure is on the Bills there, because the question then is, are you just letting him become a free agent? You can say once you become a free agent, well, now it's on you, because now you got to get somebody to pay you that money.
Yeah.
And believe me, these agents talk to other people, like even though he's under contract with the Bills, like they'll know what's out there, and maybe it happens. I do think it goes back to even like Benford to say, it's one thing for us to say this guy could get a lot more. But you're sitting there looking at how many millions guaranteed and no risk of injury going forward for that year. You're talking about generational money. We can all say, hey, wait it out. You could get more. Greg Rousseau could have gotten a lot more. Certainly Christian Benford could have. But it's also a lot of money in your pocket. Takes it all away. You like where you are. I think it's the way they think sometimes.
The only baseball analogy I'll make today, and it's because my Braves are absolutely anemic.
3 games into the season.
4.
Yeah.
Oh, they've played 4?
Yeah, they haven't scored in 20 innings, though.
Oh, that's not good, right?
Not great.
Baseball.
hold on.
It's too much.
NFL just ban the torpedo bats.
Oh, I want 9 of them for every hitter in the Braves lineup. That being said, I was explaining to my wife yesterday about
Oh, I bet she loved this conversation.
It's the same thing, Mike, you're talking about. It's the way the contracts are. And again, players, especially baseball players, are paid pennies for their first 6 years in the league. And they talk about when their arbitration kicks in and when they can go to free agency. The Braves, what they have done is a guy plays 40 good games or a top prospect. They pay him a 7-year deal for $77 million. Whereas in 6 years, they probably could get $250 million. But they say, we'll give you this now. You're tied to us, but you're no longer making $100,000 a year. You're making $11 million. So it's not as much as the $20 million that you could get a year in a few years, but we'll give you the money right now. So like your point with Benford, like Benford gets a big bump this year. Like that's a great deal for the Bills. You get the security of the player, and Benford gets the big raise and the sure money in his hand.
And Jenna, he's a 6th round pick out of Villanova.
Yeah.
Go Cats.
Right? And so he's never gotten paid.
No.
I mean, again, the numbers that you look at, it's like this year he was going to make $4 million with the upgrade, but he'd make more. Now, I do believe once a player has gotten paid, they can take more of a risk.
Sure.
You've already gotten money.
Yes.
Like
your
what Josh-
second contract.
Like what Josh said.
Yeah. You can sit there and go, I am very, very comfortable with the amount of money I've made. I can wait it out.
Sure.
Because guess what? Christian Benford's still a pretty young player. In about 3 years, 4 years, he could still be, he might even be a better player.
Yeah.
You don't know how it goes. So,
or
Greg Rousseau, the same thing, is he's young. Like you never know how it works out. But yeah, a lot of guys sit at home and say, you should wait it out. I'm like, okay, wait till they offer you that money and see if you take it.
Renee was stunned that Max Fried wasn't on the Braves anymore. And I said, well, he got 213 reasons to go pitch somewhere else and $213 million to go play somewhere else. And she's like, well, how much did the Braves offer? I go, less than that. I was like, it was less. And she's like, well, like, didn't you like Atlanta? I go, even if the Braves offered 210, it's still $3 million. Like, I know we joke around about like the grand scheme of like sports. It's $1 million. What's $1 million? $1 million.
Yeah. But it is, I also could see if you really loved it somewhere and that
100%. But it's also close, generational wealth. And I get it. Like fandom, like follow my Twitter account during a Braves game. Like it is pure, uncut fandom.
It is a drunk carny operating a roller coaster.
So do you think a podcast with Dan and Renee talking Braves would be
honestly it would probably
if we were to set up like a GoPro,
that would probably do pretty well. Find it like
you irrational.
So
her talking about their cute baby and what their wives said. Yeah.
But again, there was a guy that played the second game of the season, Nick Allen, and I literally said, I don't know who this guy is. And he's called up some minor leaguer. And Renee goes, I think I've seen that guy before. You haven't. I follow this team extensively.
She goes, sounds like a name you would have heard. Oh, it's Nick Allen.
Yeah.
But again, they're playing the Padres. She goes, I know that guy. You don't. You don't know that guy. She goes,
okay, but we like the confidence.
As I'm like sweating out like another at bat where they're not getting a hit.
Did Nick Allen come through for him in that spot?
He had one of the 2 hits in the game.
Oh wow. Okay. Way to go, Nick. All right.
Renee knew.
She's like, that guy used to play for this team. Nope. He's got a brother. Nope. But keep going, Renee.
All right, let's talk a little bit about cornerbacks because the draft is coming up. We know, obviously, the Bills addressed Christian Benford, but Mike has some data, some analytics, some names to break down too.
I have one corner I like.
Go ahead.
I don't know his name, but I figured he's on your sheet. I just want to add that to it. The kid from Kentucky.
Yeah, he's very good.
I like the kid from Kentucky.
The kid from Kentucky is Maxwell Harrison.
There's my analysis.
Yeah, I
tough.
think
can tackle, can play press, can play off. I like it.
So when you look at the way these corners have been evaluated by people, it really only appears to be one guy. And if you want to consider him a corner from Colorado, is he a corner? Is he a wide receiver that's going to go in the top 3 picks? Everybody else, like you usually in most of the mock drafts in most of the places, you don't see another corner come up in most cases till well into the 20s.
Yep.
I think there are players with ability And you do look at it and say, how does it fit? I do think you start reading about some of the players. So there's a guy, Azariah Thomas of Florida State, 6'1", 197. He's an athlete. They said he and Keon had some real battles in camp last year. Them good speed, great ball skills, all these things. Like he is, you watch his highlights, you see a guy who can play the football.
Does he have oily hips?
I hate
I
that.
did not see that as one of the things, but he does have size and speed. But you look at it and say, what's the difference between that player and the guy who would go top 10 in a draft? And sometimes I think it's experience. But he looks like the Bills type of player, good tackler, physical player, because they are not going to draft a corner who can't tackle.
Correct.
Yeah.
You see some of the other guys. Siobhan Ravel, East Carolina,
Yes.
6'2", 194. Tore his ACL in September.
And he was supposed to be the top again, whatever you consider Travis Hunter and things like that, but he was thought of. That was a name that I had heard of going into the season as this guy could be an All-American out of ECU.
Yeah.
And the fact of he could be one of the top corners taken off the class. And again, I also think guys like you talk about your boy over from Toledo. Like, you can find talent in those positions that have gone up against it.
Yeah, there are some other players. It's fascinating to see because when I say that, like if the Bills draft a guy who they, most scouts would say he's not a man coverage guy and all, maybe that would tell you a little bit about what their thoughts are. Because I know there's a lot of thoughts that the Bills will try to play more man coverage. The fascinating guy that I have found in this is a guy named Darian Porter out of Iowa State. He was a wide receiver for 3 years. He's in his 6th year. I think he had a red shirt year. So he's a little bit older. He's got everything. He did not start at corner in college football until his 6th year.
That's nuts.
Because he had played as a backup, but he's got size. He's been considered a zone guy because he hasn't played that much defensive back. I'm always looking at a player like that as how far does he fall? Does somebody just fall in love with him? Because I'm telling you, I have seen people have him late in the 1st round and in the 4th round. I think we've seen this with all these type of players. So these are the type of players. But the two I like the most, Ravel and Thomas, I just think they seem to be, I like that they both have speed and they're taller. I think those players would fit, depending on how aggressive they are. But the way he talked about Rasul Douglas today was more like, hey, Rasul's out there looking to see what's a good situation. It wasn't like there was ongoing contract discussions.
No, I mean, that doesn't shock me though either.
I also wonder about
they can do down the line.
Yeah. I wonder about that friendship too, because Rasul and Christian became very close.
Right.
They were both very open about not really knowing each other that much, but the bond over their sons and hanging out. And obviously you are so close with those people in your position group. You always talk about how close a team is. And I've heard other former players talk about it. It's like the offense doesn't always hang out that much with the defense because it's who you're in meetings rooms with and all of those kind of things. But obviously Rasul and Benford had a very close bond, knowing that Benford's locked up. I don't know. Again, we talk about the money. It's like it's $1 million. Like, where does playing with friends and your comfort level? Also, Rasul may not know he's a free agent. That is a possibility. We're not sure if he knows he's a free agent.
I'm not beyond that. I think he might be like, oh.
As opposed to putting an asterisk at the bottom of the page here, during camp?
Yeah.
That he said, somebody said, well, you're in a contract year. And he was like, am I in a contract year? And we kind of believed him because he certainly.
I believed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, oh.
You can't believe what men say.
Yeah. Well, it'd be funny if like Rasul's like, yeah, I'm just going back to Fisher. And
yeah. He just shows up.
Getting ready. Texting
guys,
Christian. Can't wait to get to work,
suspended.
Man.
And he was like, what?
Goes to put in his key card right now. And he's like, oh, I can't work out in Buffalo. I guess
it's like the
working.
Jets video.
The Jets one.
You can't get in.
Yes. Okay.
But corner is, I look at, by the way, one other quick thing I wanted to mention to you guys. When I was looking at the Bills contracts, getting these players re-upped, and maybe this is for another podcast, but I just don't know what you think. There's 2 other guys that should be in the mix here. potentially something with Taron Johnson's contract would come up. When you look at his deal, this would be the time if they are, and you would think they would still want Taron going forward.
Yeah.
But you look at it, if they wanted to get out for some reason from Taron Johnson, they could do it after this next season. That's the way his contract is written. So I was looking at that. And Conor McGregor. McGregor. I always want to say that. Conor McGregor. Conor McDermott.
Nope.
Connor McGovern.
Conor McGovern. Oh, this is the open. Oh, I've had too many sports guys in my head.
That was so good. And that was so pure. Like, guys, I got it.
I got it.
It's McDermott. Guys, I know I messed up the.
Wait a minute. There was a Conor McDermott.
There was a
was.
Connor McDermott that played.
There was two Conor McDermotts.
Both in the AFC East. One played for the Jets.
And one played for the Bills. Conor McGovern
Oh,
with a year left.
Osiris
Yes.
or Cyrus O'Torrance.
I know. That's my Osiris or Cyrus O'Torrance. I should think of
That
McGovern.
was so pure.
that was great.
Anyhow, maybe that's why he's not signed, because they were looking at the wrong name.
They're like, we keep texting Conor McDermott, and he doesn't answer.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing anymore.
And
Is he?
McGregor has also ghosted us.
Well, yeah, he's still fighting,
Yeah.
isn't he?
Oh wow.
Connor McGovern.
Yes.
You would think that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
At what point are you doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, Beane talked about that today
Continuity.
of the contracts and what he needs to do to set it up going forward. I don't know. I don't know if they let him go into his final year, and then he's a key guy on the defense or on the offense. Obviously, you made the decision to move on from Mitch because you felt like he could move into that spot. So
Yeah. It was funny. There's obviously always a lot of salary talk. And again, you're paying Josh Allen all this money. And I went back and I looked at it. People had tweeted about the salary cap's real. Look at all these Bills moves. And it was getting rid of Poyer. It was releasing Trey White. It was releasing Mitch Morris. It was all these things. And I was like, I don't even know if these guys are in the league anymore. Like, I don't know. I think Saran Neal's in Miami.
yeah,
And it was like a bunch of these decisions where I went, again, as we've said, they were football decisions that had salary cap benefits to it. They weren't cut because of salary cap constraints. But it was just one of those things where I went back and looked. And when they signed Conor McGovern, played a year at guard, they moved him to center. Remember last year at training camp, we're like, hey, another like 3 bad snaps from Conor McGovern. That kind of went by the wayside. He was great. And so
were we judging him at training camp?
we were.
It's like 4 games into the Braves season.
Yeah, I guess that's
And it's
fair.
McGovern, by the way, Dan.
What did I say?
No, you said McGovern.
Oh, I was like, that'd be even better.
Those
Okay.
Connors.
All right, credit to me.
Let's go first.
I've been waiting today. I've been the patient one.
All right, then you go first, Michael.
Oh, I didn't mean it for that.
Yeah, well, we
Okay.
don't want you to
That
wait
was
anymore.
such a martyr move.
Credit to me is I know what I'm unsure about. I'm unsure when to shake hands, when to hug. Friend's wife,
It's tough.
good
Hug.
friend of yours.
Hug.
The wife.
Okay. Sorry. I don't mean it. I interrupted you on the
Yeah.
record. As a woman in sports, sometimes it's hard because it's like handshake normally, obviously, when you're meeting someone. And then like down the line when you've built a rapport with them, but it's like a professional setting, but a handshake just feels so weird.
Not professional setting. I'm talking like personal setting, but the person is not like say the guy's a good friend of yours and you know his wife or somewhere like that.
It's a hug.
I don't know if it's a hug.
You know that hug that's like a tight, that's small with a little pat.
Yeah.
No, it's like you're not even really
Yes.
hugging.
No.
It's just over and
We need to make up like a dap for a woman because
So then, with guys sometimes, it's you're going to fist bump or you're going to shake hands. Sometimes they come out. I heard the guy talking about, you go to shake hands and the other person goes like this
how often are you throwing fist bumps at people, Kat?
all the time.
What?
You don't have friends that you do that?
LVO.
Yeah, probably. We're not shaking hands. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Dan.
Like if somebody if somebody made a putt on the green, are you high-fiving them? Is this 2001?
Would you dap them?
But we're talking about like a setting of like you're at a party. You're over at their house.
No. I was just
It's like, hey, thanks for having me over.
I was referencing
Hey,
another.
great dinner.
Oh my God! I was referencing another setting where people don't know.
Hey,
what
thanks for
to
the
do.
beer. Appreciate it.
Okay, so again, your friend's wife.
Hug.
Always. What if you realize about halfway through?
Yeah, you commit. You commit. She's getting hugged. It's just a hug.
That sounds so bad.
So, as the woman here,
Yeah.
Honestly,
do you wait? What do you
no,
do?
well, it depends. So if I don't it's tough because sometimes
You're going to hug everybody at
I'm
your
gonna
wedding.
hug. Yeah,
Your wedding is
obviously,
yes.
yeah. But like
Even the waiters, waitresses, everybody's
everybody, yeah. But like usually I'll be the one to be like, it's a handshake.
Oh, you start out
I
aggressively.
set the tone. Well, first of all, I've worked it mostly with men my entire career, so it's always like handshake.
Is that what you do?
Don't touch me.
It's the chop.
No.
Right.
But that being said, this is when it's not great in a professional setting. If you see someone and you dap them up, I feel like a handshake is way too formal. So that's why I'll be like, oh, give me a not give me a hug.
Jenna's
but-
that guy in the plane. Shake my hand. Shake my hand.
No, I set the tone to take away some of the awkwardness because I can tell looking at men's eyes, they're like, do I hug? Do I shake? What do I do? So I try to set the tone.
And then if you hug, are you now always the hug?
Yeah. You got to commit to that.
No, I'm saying this. So now we've established
Correct.
it's a hug every time.
But
yeah,
that's
but there's but you can hug and there's weird hugs. And
Oh,
there's
yeah, no.
yeah.
But like I'm saying, if it's your good friend's wife, you are going to see that woman
Yes,
time
yeah.
it,
A lot.
a lot. So
Yeah.
I think you're hug.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there are times when you're
Yep.
like,
Power through.
That's why let them lead. That's why I set the tone. Let them lead.
They
a little
usually
bit.
don't lead.
Women.
I know.
You can clip that, make you look really bad. Okay. All right. I'll go.
Okay.
Just say you can do your thing after.
That's how it goes.
So my credit is to waffles, actually.
Oh.
Do you know what a waffle is? Not the food that you eat. So credit to me, there's things called Waffle Wednesday, where you send a voice message or a video to your friends in a group chat that maybe you don't get to see a lot. So all my girlfriends that I used to work with down in Elmira, we decided to do a Waffle Wednesday, which is a thing where you send a video or you send a message saying hey, this is what's going on in my life right now. And we started it and we were like, oh, we'll see how long we keep it together. And we've been doing this now for almost a year. And it's a great way to stay in touch with the people you love that you might not see day to day, but you want to know what's going on in their life. And then when you do get to see them, you're able to be like, oh, how was this? What was this? Like you're actually able to have a conversation because you know what's going on in the person's life as opposed to how's work?
How many people in this group?
There's 5 of us.
And one of them is not as good at doing it all the time.
No,
as the others.
honestly, no.
Really?
One time, one person, if they hey, I'm sorry, I had a busy day. And these people have children. It's not just, and it doesn't, it's a minute max, but it's really nice.
That just never would happen.
Never.
That's just not a guy thing.
There's women that watch Buffalo Plus.
Absolutely.
So
Oh,
maybe
no, that's
they
not-
will like this idea. But
No.
it's called a Waffle Wednesday. We do it every Wednesday. And you just send a little video. And it's fantastic. It's a way to keep up with people in your life that you don't get to see day to day, but you want to know what's going on in their life.
That's the difference with guys. And I'm sure
You men are the worst, though. You'll go
No.
golfing 18 holes and be like, oh, what happened?
Crap,
I don't know.
no idea.
Are they still with their person? I
No,
don't
but he's
know.
got a new driver.
Literally that.
But it's the fact too of I won't talk to somebody for a year, and then if I see them, it's we never didn't talk for a year. Just oh hey,
Hey,
and you go
Yeah,
about your
no,
day.
I mean that also happens.
Right, but I'm saying is that you're putting in the work before that to
Yeah.
set the groundwork. There's no
it's all
need.
established and formal. And
No, it's so nice. I genuinely look forward to it every Wednesday, and it's a nice
So are you recording something?
so I can send a voice note, or I'll send a video. Or
Oh God! If we did, it would be just brutal. the things that would be
It's
said.
very nice.
Catalana would also film it like right here.
By the way, I'm not the one who films like that.
Beauvais.
Yes. Friend of the pod.
Shout out Beauvais. Is so close to the
By
camera.
the way, I have that same text thread with Connor McDermott, Connor McGregor,
yeah.
and Connor McGovern. I have it with all three of them.
Yeah, you could send a waffle.
Yeah. My credit to me is, and it's tough because I'm trying not to do it to be that person, but I love cold plunges. Like I am like, shout out to the cold tub. That is, and I know there's like people that like have to post a video of them doing it. And I'm proud of myself for not being that guy. But here I am on the channel saying,
Will
I'm that
you
guy.
be that guy eventually?
No.
Did you see that guy's morning routine?
Oh, Ashton.
So funny.
Yeah.
Also, though, Saratoga water, that's where I'm from. The blue water bottles.
Oh, that massive guy.
Yeah.
that they were showing. Yeah.
Jack,
Yeah.
yeah.
Apparently he got evicted from that really nice apartment. But
No way.
yeah, apparently.
Oh.
And all this. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah.
So cold plunges.
Yeah, I
You're
love
in.
cold plunges.
How long do you stay in a cold plunge for?
I can go up to 10 minutes. What?
I don't want to be that guy, but
Well, no, it's the reason I brought it up today is at friend of the Nick Mancuso.
Yes.
Got a gym in Rochester here. Steelers fan, but does support Buffalo Plus.
we love Nick.
He's got a great gym, Elevate, and they have sauna and the cold plunge right there. So that was part of the reason, the big selling point of going to the gym. I brought Renee today. And I was like, hey, because I want to do the sauna and the cold plunge. And she's like, oh, I was like, well, you got to do it because we're talking about possibly getting one at the house. So Renee's like, oh, I'll do it. And she's like, how long should you stay in for? And I was like, try like 90 seconds the first time. Like, that's all you're going to try. And I was like, because they're in different locker rooms. So it's men's and women's one. And I was like, also like, so I couldn't be in there to like, hey, kind of like make Nick like walked me through the first one. Like, you got to breathe. Like you got, it's 45-degree water, like things of that. And so, Renee was like, I lasted 40 seconds. And she's like, but it does feel incredible.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, that's actually pretty good, I feel
and,
like.
And once you're in it, and anybody that's done the cold plunges and things like that, like after 2 minutes,
You're numb.
And you don't feel anything anyway. So it's like, whether it's the 2 minutes or 10 minutes, it's all the same. But big cold plunge guy. Big fan.
Zach likes those too.
Big fan.
Would
Feel
you
like
do
$1
one
million
every day?
If I had one at the house, yeah.
What about a cold shower?
I'm like, the point is like getting in and like you're there, like you're sitting down in the tub, like that's it. The shower, I'd be like, I'm out. It's cold.
I mean, yeah, cold showers suck. Have you ever done a cold plunge?
No. I know people that do.
Yeah.
They post about it.
Yeah. And Jenna, no one loves showers more than Jenna.
I love showering.
But they're not going to be cold.
No, they're boiling
Steaming
hot. I made Zach change the water heater when we moved in.
Crank that thing up.
Yeah.
That water tank that was there had no chance.
None whatsoever. Okay. Anything else, gentlemen? Connor.
So again, comment in your thoughts about the Tush Push.
Yes.
James Cook, waffling, handshakes or hugs, and cold plunges.
Hugs. Sorry. Also, a reminder, check us out on our audio only side, Buffalo Plus. Look up our podcast. Be sure to download, subscribe there. You can also leave us a comment there, a rating. So be sure to do that as well. We really appreciate it. I think last time I checked, we had pretty good ratings. So we always appreciate that. And we're closing in on 40,000, which is awesome.
Bananas.
So please be sure to share with your friends that you think would also enjoy. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share like I talked about. Thank you so much for joining us here. For Mike Catalana and Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Thank you so much for watching Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris.